carat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Pop, pop, it's showtime. Showtime, showtime, showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. Bet they know as soon as we walk in. Shut up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. No, get the color red, the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Second verse for the.
All right, that's cool. Yes, sir. Bruno Mars, you are a funky partying mother. Yeah, not a mother. He's just a cool dude. Killer throwback song, man. I wouldn't call it funk because it's pretty much a 4/4, 4 on the floor. It doesn't have a lot of syncopation in it or backbeats, but it's got that funky Moog tone, which is killer. I've lusted after a Moog forever. I might get one, but just can't afford it right now. So I got the next best thing that's pretty cheap, and that's the Novation Bass Station 2. If you're starting out on synths, this is a huge bang for the buck, for sure. It's an old synth, and a lot of people know about it already. It might be a little bit complicated for new synth players, but we're going to give it a shot, and I'll show you how I built that patch for 24 karat magic. So we're going to go to an initialized patch. I have not figured out how to do a quick initialize of the entire panel. If anybody knows, please put that in the comments section. The only thing I've found is you got to hook it up to your computer via USB and do some sort of system exclusive message, and that's too much work for me. So somewhere above 65 to 127 is the init patches, so I'm going to go find an initialized patch that's empty. 81. That's an empty initialized patch, which means everything is set to its default settings. So we're going to try to replicate the patch. I think it was a Moog that he used. We're going to try to make this sound like a Moog. So the first thing we're going to do is go after oscillator 1. To do that, there's a oscillator select switch here. So you're picking either oscillator 1 or oscillator 2. What this switch does is route the digital control. It makes these knobs either adjust oscillator 1 or oscillator 2, depending upon where this switch is set. So we're going to turn it to switch 1. We're going to turn all the mixer settings down except for oscillator 1, so that we're only hearing that. Yep, there's only one oscillator playing. So, obviously, this is a bass tone. Let's get it in the lowest register. So, right here is a little springy button. 16, 8, 4, and 2 feet. 16 feet just means, I think it refers back to pipe organ. Like a 16-foot pipe organ pipe. It's pretty low pitch. And I think Moog even uses that terminology. Even though you could just say low, less low, less low, high. Yeah. Now, that would be extremely silly. I like the feet settings. It's obvious what it's doing. So I set it to 16 feet, and then the squishy button next to it is the waveform. So what do these sound like? There's sine wave. There's triangle. There's a shark tooth. And then there's pulse, and that's a modulated pulse wave, so you can make it, look like a square or a thin pulse or a thick pulse. I like this basic tone because it's got deep low end and it's got a little bit of buzz on it. But that's too basic, so let's make it modulate a little bit so it sounds thicker. So right here, is called the pulse width, and this is the pulse width modulation send, and right now it's connected to LFO2. So down here is LFO2. It's got 4 different wave shapes. I want a wave shape that sounds subtle. That's not subtle. Sounds like a switch. That's crazy. Triangle is a pretty, it's the most subtle wave. So I'm going to adjust the speed of it so you can hear it modulating, but you can't, it's modulating so slow that you can't hear a rate in it. Man, that's too fast. Now, I got it set to about 35. Let's back the pulse width send down. There it's totally off, so the wave is staying in one shape, pretty thin. I just added enough just to thicken up the wave. So I got it set to, what do I got here? Yeah, 23 is good. What about rate? $35. I think that's pretty, it's a interesting sounding. It's an interesting sounding sound that's got bottom end and a little bit of brightness on it. So we've got more oscillators. Let's add one. Let's add oscillator 2. So I just moved the switch over to oscillator 2. I'm going to turn the mixer for oscillator 1 down so that we only hear oscillator 2. And once again, I'm going to set it to its lowest range. And let's, it's got the same waveforms. I like the square wave the best, but we already have a square wave. Let's try to make it interesting by using a shark tooth. So let's turn up oscillator 1. Yeah, if I selected pulse and added a pulse to it, see how it thins it out a little bit? It's because the wave shapes are too close in shape. And when you get symmetry like that, they cancel each other out when they go in and out of phase. So let's pick shark tooth. And to even thicken this up some more, let's detune it just a little bit. So I'm still selected on wave 2. Here's that pulsing. I'm going to try to get that pulsing where it's barely noticeable. There it's totally gone. There you can just hear it coming in. So yeah, that does sound more complex. Normally when I do these, when I set my oscillators up, oscillators, I've heard people call them oscillators. I'm just gonna say oscillator because it's ridiculous. Normally when I add oscillators, I don't do them by themselves. I have one going and then I'll bring another one in, because if you set one up in isolation without the other one playing, you can do a lot of work on it only to realize that when you mix it in with the other oscillator, you're losing energy. So that being said, I'm going to turn these down just for tutorial purposes. Now all the oscillators are turned down. I want to add a sub oscillator to it. So here's the sub oscillator mixer knob, and here's the sub oscillator section. Let's turn that up. Yeah, that's a real deep sine wave. That's a pure tone. Or we can add a square wave. Here that's buzzy. And then here is a pulse wave. That's got a lot of character to it. So let's turn all three. Let's turn the 2 oscillators up and the sub, and then see. So they're square. There's pulse. There's sine. I like pulse because it's adding some buzziness to it. All right. We also have a choice of a fourth. It's not a fourth oscillator, but you can make oscillator 1 ring modulate oscillator 2. And the center switch is for this knob. You can bring in an external source. You can ring modulate oscillator 1 and 2 together, or you could mix in noise. So here's noise. We don't want noise in this. Here's external. I got nothing external coming in. Here's ring. So I don't know if I'm going to add that or not. Let's set up a good mix between these three. So oscillator 1 is my core sound that I'm going to build most of the patch on. And then the other three are just in support of that. So I'm going to turn it up about 3/4 of the way just to give me headroom later on in the signal chain. And then I'm going to add oscillator 2 in till it sounds just lusher. There's too much. I like it right about there. You can just hear it phasing. Let's bring in the sub. On the sub, I want to bring low end in just so it sounds deep, but I don't want it to overpower the other two oscillators. There it's too much where the sub oscillator is it's manhandling the other two. Let's back it down. Yep, that sounds good to me. It's got about equal weight as oscillator 1. Okay, now you can hear there's some sizzle on the top end, and we want some of that, but we want a lot of that gone because we're building a bass patch. We don't want to hear a lot of treble in it. So you do that by opening and closing this filter, and the filter on the Bass Station 2 is pretty cool. We have a classic filter that has a slope of 24 or 12, or there's an acid filter. The acid filter slope is fixed, and for both of these style filters, we have low pass, band pass, or high pass. So low pass means the filter frequency knob is passing low frequencies, but it's going to cut high. So all the highs are cut out. As we open it, it adds highs. High pass does the reverse. It just cuts lows out. As we go up, it cuts the lows out. And then band pass is a middle, there's a boost in the middle of the frequency range and it cuts the high and low out. That has some specialized applications, but we're not going to use it here. We're going to use the low pass. Leave it on classic and set it at the 24 dB slope. So what I want to do, I want the frequency, the low pass cutoff to change as I hit the notes, but I can't turn that fast enough. However, we can do digital control of this knob rotation, and we do that with this envelope down here. In order to do that, up here we have a mod envelope depth that feeds into the frequency adjustment. So for mod envelope depth, we're going to turn the mod envelope depth all the way up and then select the mod envelope here, which is the middle envelope selection. You have an amp envelope, mod envelope, or amp and mod. For this patch, I want the amp envelope to be different than the mod envelope, but we're going to start on the mod envelope first. So if I turn the envelopes all the way down, attack means the time it takes to go from a fully closed filter to a fully open filter, and I've got that set at the minimum, so it's going to open the filter all the way as fast as it can. Then when it goes through the decay time, it'll start closing it back down. So right now it's opening it all the way, but closing it all the way immediately because these are both set to 0. As I add decay, it opens right away and then starts to close. Hear that? When it goes through the decay time, it lands on a sustain level. And the sustain level is just a fixed position of where the frequency would be. So let's turn that up till we can hear the fundamental... I want it just barely there. And then turn the decay up. What am I not liking this? Yeah, that's pretty snappy, punchy there. There we go. That's a pretty punchy, aggressive hit. But it's not getting bright enough, so I'm going to start from a brighter setting by turning the filter up. That's too bright. That's too dark. I like it there. About 21. Okay. I wonder what LFO depth does. So what LFO depth is doing, see right here? The LFO is also moving the filter along with the mod envelope. I don't want LFO to influence it, so I'm going to set it to 0. So what do we got? Okay. I want it to make it a little bit more punchy, and we can do that with volume. So we're going to switch the mod up to amp envelope, which gives us another envelope. So we'll zero those out. Sustain is just going to be the final level after these times. I don't want it full blast because I want it to go to a higher level and then fall to a smaller level after the initial hit. So I want it to get loud immediately and then start getting quiet and fall to the sustain level. There, it's punchy right there. Yeah, there's good. Now, what release does is it holds this note a little longer after I let go. So, well, you can't hear that. See, if I turn it off, as soon as I let go of the key, the sound stops. If I turn the release up, it holds the sound out. I just want it, I don't want it to sound gatey, so I'm just going to add a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. Well, now I got to back the filter back down to where I had it. I think it was around 20. Yep. Okay, that's cool. Another great thing about the bass station is it's got pre-filter overdrive. So that adds a lot of energy. So I'm just going to add overdrive till it sounds punchy, but it's not distorting the filter out. Yeah, around there is cool. 41. The other cool thing is there's distortion after the filter. What does that sound like? That's too aggressive. There's none. Let's just add a little tiny bit. Yeah, that's just a little tiny bit. Yeah. Why am I hearing the pitch modulate? What's doing that? Okay. What's this triggering switch do? Okay, so auto glide. I don't know what that does. Single means if I play legato notes, it only goes through the envelope once if I don't separate between note 1 and 2. If I play them each individual note, it goes through that envelope every time. But if I play legato, where I hit this note before I let this one go, it doesn't re-trigger the envelopes. But if I put it on multi, it doesn't matter if I play legato or not. So I'm going to leave it on multi because I want it to do that, follow the filter envelope shape and the amp envelope shape every time. Every time. Okay, what else can we do to make this patch a little bit more interesting? A lot of funkiness comes from glide time. See how it changes pitches immediately? If I turn glide time up, it slows the synthesizer down from responding to changes in the commanded oscillator pitch. And I just want a little bit of it in there. Yeah, to make it sound a little bit sloppy and slidey. And a lot of time, glide time is adjusted based on the tempo of the song you're playing in. So that's another piece of advice I would give. If you're trying to come up with a synth patch, I get it close and then I play along with the song so that I can adjust real subtle things like glide time or how bright I want the sound to be. If you're playing in absence of other instruments, you'll always make the synth sound too alive and too bright. And then when it's in a mix, it stands out too much. Now, in this case, I did make it sound bright. I don't know why why did I do that? That's crazy. All right, what else can we do? Oh, in the normal riff of the song, it goes. When it hits this F, the pitch slides down. And we can adjust how much the pitch slides using a function key, okay? So, where's pitch slide? Here is the LFO1 to pitch. No, that's not it. Pitch bend range here. So I hit function, pitch bend range, it's set to 12 half steps. I can change that much, much smaller. Here's a whole step, a minor, or there's a minor third. There's a major third. Let's go ahead and just set it up to a full octave. Okay. Hit function again to get out of that. Okay. Then in the pre-verse part of the song, he does the real simple bass line where it's now that's a less brighter tone, and I can hear some modulation going on in there. Let's see if we can find that.
Woo, shit.
Yeah.
I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up.
So listen to the bass line here. It goes from the punchier, brighter Moog to a duller, phasey Moog.
Too hard might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up.
So that is much less bright, and I also hear modulation in it. However, if you would play this live, you wouldn't want to jump to another patch right in the middle of the song unless you're very good with a tactile memory or muscle memory. So all I did was, I can't modulate the square wave anymore, but I can, because I don't have any other controls on this to modulate the pulse waves. However, I can modulate the pitch with the mod wheel. So what I did was function, mod wheel, LFO1 to oscillator pitch. And it's set at 10. So if I hear that going, obviously that's too much. But if I back that down, what's that rate? So it's moving real slow in and out of pitch. I just put that on the mod wheel. Just make the patch sound a little different when the chorus part of the song comes up. So, that's good.
Players, put your pinky rings up. Moon, girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Pop, pop, it's showtime. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. Bet they know as soon as we walk in. I'm wearing Cuban links, designer mix, Inglewood's finest shoes. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Know to keep the color red, the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up. Moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Second verse for the.
So yeah, that's a pretty good tone. That sounds pretty good, and I think you could get away with using this live or even in recordings. The only thing I don't like about the bass station, it's pretty plasticky feeling, and especially the key bed. There's so little fight back from the keys. They're so springy and so easy to push down that it's hard to get into a groove to play it. Yeah, that's it.